Let us start with the class number 7. In class 6, we had seen this topic, draft environment impact assessment, origin of this and this draft. Everything was discussed. Now in this lecture, in the 7th lecture, we are going to see the July month environment related current affairs remaining ones, and these are 5 topics in number. One is for improving your indoor air quality of the AC, normal air conditioner. Government has come up with retrofit of air conditioning program to improve indoor air quality for safety and efficiency, mainly in the offices. And the EESL has started. It is a program by the Ministry of Power. I will tell you the detail, don't worry. Second is better segregation of biomedical waste. This has become very important during the COVID-19 situation because people otherwise have a problem of infection, chances of infection. So better segregation of biomedical waste is needed. Third is one protected area in news, that is Dehing Patkai or Dehing Patkai. And fourth is Kazi 106F. I will tell you what is that. And there is one organism we are going to study today, a species today. One is, this is pied cuckoo, a cuckoo which is known as pied cuckoo. Our first topic is draft environment impact. Sorry, this is the last topic, last lecture topic, sorry. Today our first topic is RAISE. RAISE is the abbreviation. The full form is retrofit for air conditioning to improve indoor air quality for safety and efficiency. You do not need to remember that full length, okay? You just need to remember the RAISE program, and this is about improving the indoor air quality through retrofit of air conditioning instrument or your normal ACs. They will be retrofitted so that indoor air quality improves. Also, it will bring some safety and efficiency improvement. Efficiency improvement means you will be consuming less power. Less power consumption, that means less release of carbon dioxide, because somehow for the power you need the fuel, electricity. For electricity also you have thermal power stations that use coal. So the coal consumption and everything will be reduced. That will lead to reduction of the carbon dioxide. That will lead to fulfillment of the India's INDC after the COP. This COP21, you have this Paris Agreement, right? For that it will help. So all of those things. Now, very interestingly, this is not a program of Ministry of New or Renewable Energy or Ministry of Housing. This is a program by Union Minister of Power. Union Minister of Power has launched this retrofit air conditioning program to improve indoor air quality for safety and efficiency. Safety also, because if you have very old AC, there are issues of safety also. And this is a national program. And now Ministry of Power has announced this, but this is a joint initiative of EESL and USAID, Energy Efficiency Services Limited and USAID. So what are these two organizations or institutions? See, this is EESL. It is present in Ministry of Power only. So Ministry of Power announced, but the implementation agency and everything will be your EESL in joint collaboration with USAID. Energy Efficiency Services Limited, EESL, is an energy service company. It is registered as company, okay, of the Government of India, and it is the world's largest public energy service company of the world. Can you imagine? This EESL under the Ministry of Power is the world's largest public energy service company, 100% government owned. So which companies of government are participating here to create your EESL? It is a joint venture, and you have to remember that, because this is very much in news. This is all related to your renewable energy and energy conservation. EESL under the Ministry of Power, world's biggest energy service company under the public sector. So now it is owned by other companies, NTPC Limited, Power Finance Corporation, and REC Limited, and also the Power Grid. All these are big companies. NTPC, Power Finance Corporation, REC Limited, and Power Grid. All these 4 companies together made this Energy Efficiency Services Limited. REC is Rural Electrification Corporation Limited. It is also a public infrastructure finance company. What is the purpose of EESL? This C. Innovative business and implementation models can significantly reduce consumption and cost. So that is why they have come up with this retrofitting. This is also an innovative solution to reduce the consumption, reduce the cost. Also, it acts as the resource center for capacity building of electricity distribution companies, DISCOMs. Their capacity will be built by this resource center, EESL. Electricity regulatory commissions. All these things are having their capacity building exercises in EESL. It also helps the state designated agencies upcoming ESCOs, if there is any other energy service company, the help will be provided by EESL. It also helps the financial institutions in energy conservation and everything. So this program is not just by EESL, right? They have collaborated with USAID. What is that? United States Agency for International Development is USAID. It is an independent agency of the United States federal government. Okay. So this is not a UN initiative. You have to remember that. This is USAID, right? This is from America, American people. This is an independent agency of the United States federal government. Federal government. This is a government agency of the United States, not a UN body. Primarily, they are responsible for administering civilian foreign aid. So they will give foreign aid to different countries, for example, Asia and Africa countries for the developmental assistance. Very good, goodwill, right? USAID is one of the largest official aid agencies in the world. Every country has aid agency, even India has. But this is one of the largest one in the world. And when US gives foreign assistance to other countries, this USAID agency constitutes more than half of those assistance from the United States government. And it is highest in the world in absolute dollar terms. US foreign assistance is to the other countries highest in the world in absolute dollar terms. So EESL and USAID together jointly have come up with RAISE initiative to improve indoor air quality and ensure safety and efficiency in air conditioning. This is a retrofitting program. It was launched by Ministry of Power. So now, how it is to be done? See, I already told you that this is a national level program, but they started with EESL building only. First of all, EESL has undertaken a retrofit of its office air conditioning and ventilation system. This news came in PIB, so very important. First of all, EESL, you say be the change you want to see. So EESL started with its own office. They have retrofitted the office air conditioning and ventilation system and partnership by your USAID. This is all under MATRI program. There is a program by the government that is MATRI program. What is MATRI program? Market Integration and Transformation Program for Energy Efficiency, MATRI program. This is a program launched by US and India bilaterally. Okay, between the partnership between the Ministry of Power and USAID, a program is launched which is known as MATRI. We are having friendship with the United States and they will give us some assistance. Market Integration and Transformation Program for Energy Efficiency. In that program, they have together announced Healthy and Energy Efficient Building Initiative. The news came on 5th June 2020 also, because 5th June was World Environment Day. I told you the origin of World Environment Day very clearly, so I'm not going into that topic again. So EESL under the Ministry of Power and USAID had together launched MATRI program. In that MATRI program, recently they have launched Healthy and Energy Efficient Building also. So first of all, EESL started this Healthy and Energy Efficient Building initiative in its own headquarters, in its own office. And this program, RAISE program, is also happening under the MATRI program only. So what were the result of this experiment? RAISE program experiment in your pilot project in your headquarter of EESL. What was the result? Pilot project has shown very impressive results. 80% improvement in air quality parameters with almost no implementation hassle. It was not problematic to implement this retrofitting. It was very easy. So now EESL is keen to, they are willing to provide such solution across the country with a standardization and demand aggregation approach. This program in the EESL complex focused on improving indoor air quality, thermal comfort of the people who are working there, and energy efficiency in its office's air conditioning system. So that was all about this. Now the next topic is a news which is not very important, but we will see biomedical waste rules in the India and other things. We will also see one organization, EPCA, better segregation of biomedical waste needed in Delhi. This has been said by EPCA. Now this organization is only concerned with Delhi. Yes, this organization is only concerned with Delhi area. The EPCA had said that during the COVID-19 pandemic, if we see the biomedical waste generation in Delhi, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan area, that means in NCR area, we are saying that Delhi has the highest load, and they are saying that there should be more biomedical waste treatment facility, otherwise infection can occur in the more population. So this report came from Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, EPCA authority, and they have given every data about Delhi has increased 15 times in June and all biomedical waste generation. Those things are not needed. What is needed is that you need to have some common understanding why this is increasing. See, due to COVID-19 pandemic, there is an increase in the amount of plastic waste. Where is the plastic waste? Your PPE kits, gloves, face shields, everything. And they are mixing with the solid waste management. So solid waste management problem is already there. With that, you have the biomedical waste now. Then there are patients in home isolation who are generating biomedical waste, quarantine centers, and these biomedical waste is not generated from your normal solid waste. Some people are even saying that na ki COVID-19 virus can spread from the sewerage also, your common flush also. So the what are the way ahead? Way ahead, you will have to have more biomedical waste treatment plants. You will have to generate awareness about the segregation of biomedical waste. Just like today you were doing the segregation for organic and non-organic waste. Now you will have to be concerned about the biomedical waste also. But the main thing I want to teach here is that biomedical waste management rule that came in 2016. First of all, what is the definition? Biomedical waste, according to existing biomedical waste rules, is any waste that is generated during diagnosis of the patient, treatment of the patient, immunization of the person, and it can include these things: diagnosis, treatment and immunization of not only human beings, it will include the animals also. Or if you are doing some research activity and that research activity is generating the biomedical waste without any patient or without any animal, that can also happen. What are the kind of biomedical waste? Human tissues, cut, surgery, items contaminated with blood, body fluids, syringes, dressing, plaster casts, cotton swabs which you keep on your injected portion of the body, beddings contaminated with blood or body fluid. All these things, they look very gore also very scary also, but anyway, these are biomedical waste. So you will have to contain your biomedical waste. You will have to do the disposal in a scientific and environmentally sound manner. Otherwise, any pandemic can occur from the biomedical waste also, if the virus is capable or the bacteria is capable, so that you can minimize the adverse impact on health workers who are dealing with this biomedical waste and your normal environment. So address the said these needs, government came up with Biomedical Waste Management Rule 2016 that were notified to efficiently manage the generated bio-waste in the country. Biomedical Waste Management Rule 2016 rules were later amended also to improve compliance and strengthen the implementation of what kind of initiative? Environmentally sound management and biomedical waste in India. So there was an amendment also done in this for better performance of this Biomedical Waste Management Rule 2016. When EPCA released this data, they also said that Delhi has this many biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility. So what is common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility? It is a common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility. It is set up where your biomedical waste generated from any health area is given in this facility. Then they are treated. For example, in water you have sewage treatment plant, right? Sewage treatment plant. For you have biomedical waste, you have biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility. This is a common facility for every hospital. The waste will be generated and it will be collected and it will be going there, and it will reduce the effects that waste may pose to human health and environment. Problem is that an installation of individual treatment facility by healthcare facility requires comparatively high capital investment. So if you go for the common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility, that will be good. Also, one person, one hospital will need to have the skills, manpower, infrastructure, power operation, because this all operation need power. Remember that. Maintenance of treatment system. So better to have the common biomedical waste treatment and disposal facility. Cost treatment per kilogram biomedical waste will also be significantly reduced if you go for the larger scale, economy of a scale, CBWTF, instead of the individual healthcare facility, treatment facility. So that is how it is said that CBWTF concept has become very popular. So now the next topic comes. This authority who gave this report is known as Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority, EPCA. This EPCA question came in UPSC 2017 or 18, I am not able to remember, but 17 or 18 it came. What is EPCA in the MCQ in the prelims paper GS1, GS, you don't call it GS1, GS paper. What is EPCA? Here is the definition. EPCA was constituted with the objective of protecting and improving quality of environment and preventing, controlling and environment pollution. So it will encourage the improvement of environment and it will discourage the pollution activity or environmental pollution in which area? National Capital Region. Now National Capital Region can have parts of Delhi, or Delhi, entire Delhi is National Capital Territory of Delhi. But in NCR you have Rajasthan areas, you have your Haryana areas, right? And you have Uttar Pradesh areas. So for all this NCR area, this Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority will look into it, will reduce the pollution and encourage the environmental conservation. It also assists the Supreme Court in various environment related matters in NCR. Only this body recommended that petcock should be banned in this area to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave an order. EPCA had been empowered to take suo motu on its own action. Also they can take cognizance of any activity, environmentally polluting activity on their own, and also on the basis of complaints made by any individual, any representative body or any organization functioning in the environmental issue sector. Also this body EPCA is Supreme Court mandated body, and it derives its power from the Environment Protection Act 1986. You have to remember that. Now a protected area in news, Dehing Patkai or Dehing Patkai, I don't know how to pronounce it, probably Dehing Patkai. First of all, from the Wikipedia, Dehing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary. This is a wildlife sanctuary currently, and it is located in Dibrugarh and Tinsukia district of Assam. Here is Dibrugarh and Tinsukia district in Assam. This Dehing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary is present. It has rainforest. What are the important organisms here? This was declared as elephant reserve under the Project Elephant. So elephant is the most important organism or species here. Also various other important organisms, the most common mammal species here are Hullock gibbon, which is very important for your UPSC prelims. Slow loris, these are very important. Bengal tiger is also present. Gaur is also present, and I already told you about this Chinese pangolin. So Chinese pangolin is also present in this area, Dehing Patkai. Red giant flying squirrel. Recently flying squirrel has been spotted in Uttarakhand also, so you have to read about that. Marbled cat is also present. But now why Dehing Patkai is in news? Because Assam government has decided that they will upgrade the conservation status of wildlife sanctuary Dehing Patkai to a national park. You know that a national park has more conservation degree, and the wildlife sanctuary has less conservation degree relatively. So Assam government is saying that they will provide more protection to Dehing Patkai, and now Dehing Patkai as a wildlife sanctuary was created in 2004. So now they have decided that they will be making it a national park. It was also in news because your National Board for Wildlife under the central government, they had given a conditional clearance to a coal mining project by Coal India Limited CIL in Dehing Patkai Elephant Reserve. So that was a concern. Now the central government gave a decision that they are giving the clearance, conditional clearance only to the CIL for creating a mining project in this area, coal mining project. If the state government upgrades the conservation status and makes it a wildlife sanctuary to national park, that will mean that even coal and oil mining exploration cannot happen here. Wildlife sanctuaries are protected areas which permit some activities, but no human activity is allowed in national park. This is the major difference. I told you this is a rainforest, so this is also known as Amazon of East. So it might be asked in prelims about the Dehing Patkai Wildlife Sanctuary. You have to remember that this is present in Assam. Dehing is the name of the river that flows through the forest, and Patkai in north is known as hill only. That's why Patkai boom. You remember Patkai boom? Patkai means in northeast hill only, one hill, and Dehing is the river which flows through this protected area. So that is why it is known as Dehing Patkai. Area is in the foothills of a hill, so that is why it is known like that. More importance is that it is the only rainforest in Assam which spreads across Tinsukia, Dibrugarh and Sivsagar district. I already explained you this. and also stretches little bit towards the state of Arunachal Pradesh. The species present there already explained, no need to see again. Next topic is Kazi 106F. Very surprisingly, this is an animal, and this is India's only golden tiger and found in Kaziranga National Park of Assam. This is also known as tabby tiger or a strawberry tiger because of its color, and is a tiger with a color variation. This color variation is caused by a recessive gene. This recessive gene is expressed only very rarely. That is why you have only one organism here, Kazi 106F. Agouti genes are recessive genes which are responsible for causing this yellow skinning, yellow coloration. But still the black stripes will be present, which are controlled by tabby genes. Okay, so if the genes are suppressed, yellow and black stripe genes are suppressed, agouti gene and tabby genes, then the color variation can occur. Golden tigers are generally blonde or pale golden color and reddish stripe. I will show you the image. This is your Kazi 106F in the Kaziranga National Park. Why Kazi in the name? Because of Kaziranga National Park. Now because this is happening because of a recessive gene. So for recessive gene expression, you must have excessive inbreeding, and inbreeding is not a very good thing for conservation of human or animal species. You know that, because the diseases can also start expressing themselves. See, inbreeding can result in offspring being affected by deleterious and recessive traits which were hidden from expression. The wrong genes, the harmful genes, those also might start getting expressed. So inbreeding is not a good thing. So you have the golden tiger, be very happy to see that. But the cause is excessive inbreeding. Inbreeding is not a very good cause. Why happens? Inbreeding, why it happens? Because you have destroyed their habitat. You have destroyed their corridor. So they do not have the connectivity, and they are mating in a very small population, very small area only. Destruction of corridor, destruction of habitat. Acha, Assam has other national park also. Manas, Orang, Nameri. Nameri na tumari. Anyway, let us see the map. Only that one? No, more than that. Manas National Park is here. So it adjoins the Bhutan's Royal National Park. Remember that. Manas National Park adjoining the Bhutan's Royal National Park. After that, you come through Chicken Neck. You go to Assam. The first national park you will find will be Manas National Park. Then you travel a little bit more. Near your Meghalaya Assam border, you will find Pabitra Wildlife Sanctuary. This is not a national park. This is a wildlife sanctuary. These all locations are for the conservation of rhinos sometimes. Anyway, go above that, you will have Orang National Park. See the map. This river is Brahmaputra. Right, Brahmaputra. So it starts from Dibru-Saikhowa National Park in Assam. Then you go a little downward. You have the Kaziranga National Park on the left bank. Then you have on the left bank only Bura Chapori and Laukhowa Wildlife Sanctuary. These are wildlife sanctuary. Then you have on the right side Orang National Park on the north side. Then you have Pabitra Wildlife Sanctuary, and last one is Manas National Park. This is not on the banks of your Brahmaputra. This is here adjoining your Bhutan area. Okay, Pied Cuckoo we will see in the next lecture. This is all in this lecture. Thank you.